no, this is stupid. Yeah, it looks nothing like the poster. It's stupid. Just forget I even did this. Let's get started with the review. What's going on, everybody? It's Brandon, and welcome back to another episode of Murata Media. And today I'm going to be doing my first ever movie review. I've been wanting to do one of these for a while, but truth be told, I just have not seen that many movies lately because life just gets in the way sometimes. But this past weekend, I did see a movie that I have been anticipating for quite some time now, and that movie was Jordan Peele's brand new film, Us. Coming off the success of his 2017 debut, Get Out, a movie that I absolutely loved, easily in my top 10 favorite movies of 2017. A movie that really surprised me the way it was able to easily put together drama and horror, thrills, and comedy all in one, and also some very interesting social commentary regarding race. So when I saw Jordan Peele was making a second film, I was already sold. But in the back of my mind, the skeptic in me did come out a little bit. I thought, how could Jordan Peele duplicate the success of Get Out? Could he match it? Could he make something even better? Or could he fall victim to the sophomore slump? I'm happy to say that he did not, and Us is a very good film, and I'm going to talk about the things I liked and the things that I didn't quite like about it. This is also a film that I feel I cannot discuss in full without getting to a little bit of spoilers, so I will be getting into spoilers toward the end of the video, but I'll let you know when I am. In Us, we get to know the Wilson family, parents Adelaide and Gabe, played respectively by Lupita Nyong'o and Winston Duke, who previously starred in Black Panther together, along with their daughter Zora and their son Jason. And they're on their way to their summer home in Santa Cruz, California, where Adelaide had a run-in as a little girl with another girl who looked exactly like her, and as a result she has been scarred ever since, suffering from anxiety and PTSD. And when a family that looks exactly like the Wilsons show up on their driveway, that's when all hell breaks loose. So for starters, with things I liked, the number one thing is easily the acting. But without a doubt, Lupita Nyong'o steals the show. She was absolutely incredible in this movie. And that's not to say that the other actors in the movie aren't good too. Winston Duke is great as her husband Gabe, but he is there most of the time just as the comic relief character. But I am happy to say that Winston Duke is not just the comedic relief character that he's portrayed as at the start of the movie. And speaking of those comedic moments, Us absolutely nails them. There were a couple times when I thought the humor did miss a little bit. I didn't think it was as funny as Get Out in the moments when it was trying to be, but it still does have some good laughs here and there, and they mix really well with the tension-filled moments, and that's another thing that I really did respect about Us. This movie doesn't take itself too seriously, because if it did, it probably wouldn't even try to have any humor in it whatsoever. That was something I was a little bit conflicted about. In these tension, horror-filled moments, it seemed a little strange to just throw some comedy in there, but it actually worked really well. But the biggest question regarding this movie for me was, is it actually scary? It was marketed as a horror film. Jordan Peele himself said that it was a horror film, and I'm happy to say that the movie actually is legitimately scary in parts. I'm a person who's not really scared easily by horror movies, but there were times in this movie when I was legitimately freaked out. And a big component of the horror factor is this film's score. This is such a great score that perfectly matches the tone of each moment, composed by Michael Abels, whose first composition credit was Get Out. The string-based melodies are so eerie and creepy. There's also a very amazing orchestral remix of the song I Got 5 on It. The song is featured in the trailers, and I guess I didn't really notice it at first. It's a really amazing composition, and I never thought a hip-hop song would work so well in an orchestral fashion in a horror movie. And the song that you heard in the intro of this video was also very creepy for me, at least, because anything horror related that involves children just becomes that much scarier. And speaking of the kids, the doppelgangers of the two kids, I should say, were pretty unsettling in parts. One moment that stuck out for me personally was when the family of doppelgangers first shows up on the driveway, and Adelaide's doppelganger, Red is her name, claps and the two kids just scurry into the bushes. It's the stuff of my nightmares. One thing about the movie that bothered me a little bit, and this didn't totally kill it for me, it was something rather minor, and that was the doppelganger's mannerisms. I just thought they were a little ridiculous and over the top in some parts. Just the way they walk, it's almost looks like they're zombies, and I just thought it was a little over the top in parts. But like I said, it didn't kill the movie for me, and it was just something that was so minuscule I was willing to look past it. And there really is not enough I could say about Jordan Peele's directing. The man has a vision, and he puts that vision into practice so well. Now, I'm not going to get into spoilers just yet, but the ending to this movie is basically told to you throughout the whole film. Peele lays these little hints out for you that don't really stand out the first time you see them, but when you get to the ending and then you're able to process everything that's happened, you just sit back and think, oh. And there's so many of them that it's overwhelming to process it all at once. This is definitely a movie that I feel you have to watch twice to fully understand it. I've seen so many videos and discussions online about the ending to this film and what everybody thinks it means and how it all adds up. So I thought it would be fun to give you my interpretation of the ending and see if anyone else out there had the same thoughts as I did. So first, let's discuss the big reveal at the end of the film. So Red, Adelaide's doppelganger, reveals that millions of other doppelgangers, which they refer to as the tethered, have been living underground for several years, and they were created as a government experiment as a way to control the populace. But when the experiment proved to be a failure, the government just abandoned the tethered in the subways underground and left them there to die. So that was the reveal, but the big twist at the end, Shyamalan style, is that Red, Adelaide's tethered, is actually the original Adelaide. When they first initially met as kids, Red attacked Adelaide and switched places with her. So Red took on Adelaide's life while the real Adelaide was left underground with all the other tethered. At the beginning of the movie, there's an ad that is shown for Hands Across America. And if you don't know what that is, it was a movement in the 1980s when 6.5 million people were to join hands across America for 15 minutes. And what it was meant to do was raise awareness for homelessness, hunger, and poverty. And Adelaide, the real one, I should say, has a shirt of this movement. And it's clear that this benefit kind of had an effect on her. So the ultimate end game was for the tethered to rise up to the surface and kill their counterpart, so that way they can be their own person, and then they would form a big chain together holding hands across the country, just like Hands Across America. And like I said, a lot of people have a lot of different thoughts about what this means, about what it could mean. So let me tell you what I thought. And don't worry, I'm not going to get too political here, but in these divided political times we live in, you have all these people who are telling you to think this way or think that way, act this way, act that way. And that's exactly what the tethered were supposed to do. They were meant to do something, and when they didn't achieve what they were supposed to do, they were abandoned. And that can be interpreted in a way that if you think differently, people won't associate themselves with you because you're not thinking how they want you to. So as a result, they abandon you and distance themselves from you. So what I think it means is that the tethered want to be their own person. They don't want to be linked to this counterpart on the surface who looks exactly like them. No, they want to be themselves. And I think the overall message is that we're all the same. And there's a scene in the movie that kind of touches on this point. When the Wilsons first meet their tethered, Adelaide or someone, I honestly can't remember who, asks them what they are, and Red replies, "We're Americans." And when you first hear that line, you're like, oh, that's funny because it wasn't what you were expecting. And at the end of the day, I think that was kind of the overall message. We're all Americans, and we're all the same, so we should be treated the same. We should be able to think for ourselves and act for ourselves and not have to worry about the burden of what society might think about you because you're different. And those are my thoughts on the ending and how I interpreted it. Now, tell me what you guys thought about it. Comment down below. I would love to hear what you guys thought. But overall, Us was a really good movie. It had some things that bothered me, but didn't totally take me out of the experience. The movie is actually scary in some parts. It's acted phenomenally, especially by Lupita Nyong'o. It's hilarious in parts, and overall, it's just an enjoyable experience. Is it as good as Get Out? I personally enjoyed Get Out a little bit more, but this movie was still fantastic, and I can't wait to watch it again. Overall, I'm going to give Us an 8 out of 10. And everyone, thank you so much for watching my review of this movie. This is my first review, so I know it's not going to be perfect, so just bear with me. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts about what you thought of the movie and how you interpreted the ending. Also, check out my end of the year list for 2018 when I talk about the worst movies and the best movies of 2018, in my opinion. I'll link those down right here. And other than that, I will see you guys next time.